Hello, Wake Up New Zealand, Karaseki speaking. The government's Zilch transparency as to the Therapeutics Product Bill. The Therapeutic Product Bill, the legislation, if passed, will replace the Medicines Act 1981. Firstly, to explain to you where I'm going with this, I have to actually go over what it means as to an off-label medicine. Later on, you'll see why I have explained this. So an off-label medicine is an unapproved medicine, an unapproved drug that can be used under certain regulations. And those regulations, legislation, is limited. So under Section 23 of the Medicines Act 1981, this provides for the Minister of Health to grant provisional consent when considered desirable for the medicines to be sold, supplied, or used on a restricted basis. Now, restricted, limited, for the treatment of a limited number of people, patients. So June the 12th, 2015, the National Library of Medicine published an article about off-label drugs using consent and health regulation is an issue in New Zealand. Off-label described as not yet approved or the status of drugs that have been approved. So the New Zealand Medicines Act 1981 specifically allows for off-label use, drug use. However, this authority is limited, and that refers to the Code of Health and Disability Services, Consumers' Rights Regulations, and Common Law state. It is required that off-label drug use is of an acceptable standard. The patient should be fully informed. The patient must give informed consent. So the patient must know what they're giving consent to. So the whole content of that drug, that medicine, what is in it. So off-label drug use is an extremely important issue. The current law provides medical practitioners very wide discretionary powers without providing classification for what is required for the practitioner in exercising this discretion of off-label drugs. So what has the New Zealand government's Therapeutic Product Bill got to do with the replacing of the Medicines Act with off-label medicines? Well, I'll go on to that. The government had unsuccessfully, in 2011 and 2016, put forward proposals for a therapeutics product bill, but that was unsuccessful. So the government then put it back on the table in 2019, and it was noted that iwi, Maori, natural medicines would be exempted from the therapeutic products proposal, the bill that we now have in Parliament. So a MedSafe report in May 2022 refers to the Medicines Act 1981 being replaced with the Therapeutic Products Bill to allow for off-label medicines. Chris Hipkins, the COVID-19 response minister, and Andrew Little, Minister of Health, with the Director General, has the ability to make decisions regarding the administration of COVID-19 jabs, the dose and the frequency as the pandemic developed, whilst being outside of the established MedSafe regulations, the MedSafe medicine process. So that's the Medicines Act 1981 as well. So a legal base for the provision of the medicines process of any further doses of COVID-19 jabs, including Pfizer's fourth dose jab. The fourth dose had not yet been approved by MedSafe. The government had recommended that Maori and Pacifica peoples over the age of 50 who were immune compromised can receive the fourth Pfizer dose before winter 2022. There was no public consultation about this. So the mainstream media that's been purchased by the government consistently promoted that the fourth dose should be received. So the Minister of Health reported that Pfizer had not yet applied for approval of the fourth dose in New Zealand, that local jurisdictions have to find their own approval strategies. And that's what Pfizer said, that each country under their jurisdiction must find their own strategies for approval. So the Ministry of Health reported as to Maori Pacific people's health cannot be overstated as to the impact of COVID-19. That there is a time pressure to maximise immunity when winter illnesses are at their peak. Specific targeting of Maori and Pacifica peoples for COVID-19 jabs as guinea pigs, saying it would be ideal to enable the broader doses of fourth Pfizer jabs, opportunities to administer flu and COVID-19 jabs at the same time, using the World Winter Illness time. So it was very timely to provide the population with fourth dose, but they had to find their own legal route. The government had to find its own legal route because of what Pfizer had said about jurisdictions. However, standing orders cannot be made for an unconsented medicine, a new medicine. This undermines the purpose and consent process under the 1981 Medicines Act. Note, under the 1981 Medicines Act, off-label is limited number of people receiving doses of unapproved MedSafe medicines are limited. Pfizer COVID-19 dose 4 was unapproved and therefore limited as to how many New Zealanders could actually receive it, but they did the rollout right across New Zealand. So the government, with urgency, introduced new arrangements. They were implemented to amend the Medicine Act introduced the 7th of June 2022 and passed in mid-June, recommended by Andrew Little, the Minister of Health. He would be responsible for the implementation of the fourth dose of Pfizer, utilising all existing delivery settings, processes and technology they had used previously for the COVID-19 rollout. They were now going to use that on an unapproved drug to roll it out across New Zealand. So the Minister of Health monitors new data collection, that's Andrew Little, administers the application of the Medicines Act 1981 to ensure off-label medicines, e.g. COVID-19 Pfizer fourth dose practices, are introduced and promoted and implemented. So in a court hearing, Judge Rebecca Ellis stated, when referring to off-label medicine, a limited number of people specified in Section 23 of the Medicines Act 1981, this could not be stretched to the whole population over 16 years old. Andrew Little's response was to Judge Ellis, I will fix the snag. Hence you have Therapeutic product legislation, bill, which will definitely pass into legislation. That was Andrew Little's fixing the snag. So RNZ reported on the 18th of May 2021 Technical anomaly spurs urgent law change for COVID-19 vaccine. The government urgently seek a change of law to ensure COVID-19 vaccine rollout is legal. Following the High Court decision of Judge Rebecca Ellis, Judge Ellis ruled it was reasonably argued that the government's approval of Pfizer vaccine rollout went beyond the Medicines Act 1981 that was allowed. This gave Andrew Little the right to approve medicines for a limited number of patients. However, the COVID-19 vaccine rollout will cover all New Zealanders over the age of 16, thus not limited. So that was actually breaching the Medicines Act 1981. It was a criminal breach of the law. Chris Hipkins' response to Judge Ellis was, "This raises no safety issues. It just highlights technical anomaly as to the law." Note, the government was technically breaking the law and they needed to cover their ARSES. And to cover their ARSES, they would replace the Medicines Act of 1981 with the Therapeutic Product Bill, which will be passed into legislation. You wait and see. They need to cover their ARSES. Andrew Little again responded to Judge Ellis. He said the government will pass legislation under urgency to rectify the problems. Hence the Therapeutic Product Bill. This most definitely will be passed. 6 products are potentially affected, said Judge Ellis in the court decision. These include Pfizer vaccines, 2 flu vaccines, and 2 types of contraceptives, and an electrolyte solution. So on the 30th of November 2022, the Therapeutics Bill was officially introduced by Andrew Little into the House. He describes this in his speech in the Beehive to modernise the way medicines, medical devices, including COVID-19 test kits and natural health products are regulated. Strict, rigorous regulations on natural health products. Natural health products, including your vitamin C's, B's, D's, etc., that you can buy over the shelf at the supermarket. So the Therapeutics Product Bill, if passed, replaces the Medicines Act, the Dietary Supplement Regulation 1985 Act, with one comprehensive regulatory regime. Andrew Little stated, "This is fit for the future. Enables New Zealand to take advantages of advances in medicine like gene therapies, AI, and machine learning software. Also, vaccines for pandemic. Also, more human vaccine trials." So the Therapeutic Product Bill legislation will work alongside, contribute to Paiora Health Futures Act. David Seymour said MedSafe tended to approve drugs that were approved elsewhere in the world, saying, well, has MedSafe ever declined to approve a drug that the rest of the world has said is safe? He said he would support it, replacing the Medicine Act 1981 with the Therapeutic Product Bill, which would become into legislation act. A National Party COVID-19 Minister Chris Bishop said to reporters that National Party also support the Therapeutic Product Act being replacing the Medicines Act 1981. So they support, National Party support the Therapeutic Product Bill. Note, the Medicine Act 1981 only gave the government the right to approve a limited number of patients, whereas the COVID-19 vaccine rollout covered everyone in New Zealand, 16 years of age and over. So basically, the Therapeutics product bill is to severely restrict New Zealanders' ability to purchase natural health remedies, for the government to cover its arse for criminally breaking the Medicines Act 1981 by replacing the Medicines Act with the Therapeutic Product Bill, which will become legislation. So that means promoting more jabs for pandemics, more human trials, guinea pigs, the advancement use of AI and genetic cell advancement, trials, and drugs. So basically, they're covering their own arses by replacing the Medicines Act 1981 and introducing the Therapeutic Product Bill. And I can't see any way that they're not going to do this, and it doesn't matter how many submissions you put in, and they are saying that submissions can be put in now, but you have, whatever happens, the government will make the last decision, because we do not have a citizens-initiated binding referendum in New Zealand. And the government has binding and non-binding. So we have no end say. So it doesn't matter how many submissions you actually put in and how evidential they are. It's like any other legislation or any bill or any amendment they bring into Parliament. You have a shit show in hell to actually get your voice heard and put forward and to change any of the government's decision making. And that's how it is. So this is what this Therapeutic Product Bill is all about. Wake up, New Zealand, and share, share, share.